Incredibly, gun sales are surging in the wake of the massacre at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Colorado and Virginia each set one-day records for background checks over the weekend as thousands of people lined up to buy guns themselves. My next guest says there is blood on the hands, but of lawmakers who voted to ban guns from schools. Larry Pratt is the executive director of Gun Owners of America. He says that if more people with guns had been at Sandy Hook Elementary School, most of the victims might still be alive. Mr. Pratt, you'll be aware that your comments have ignited a lot of debate. Can you try and explain to me why you believe the answer to this is to arm teachers?
Well, the alternative is what we have seen, where people were reduced to waiting to be murdered without being able to do anything effective to protect themselves or the adults to protect the children. So it seems so obvious that since we have concealed carry laws in all of our country now, people can get a concealed firearm, and yet we have laws that say not in schools. And so in the very places that have been sought out by monsters, such as the murder of these adults and children, we're saying, no, we don't want you to be able to defend yourself. It's better that you just sit there and wait to be killed. And we find that morally incomprehensible and deeply disturbing, that the desire to defend life has been so cast aside into whatever political correctness views guns as the ultimate evil. Evil's in our hearts, not in the guns.
Where would the teachers put the guns?
People can carry firearms in a concealed fashion, do it all the time. The laws provide for that.
Wait a minute. So in a school full of 600 children, including 5- and 6-year-olds, you would have teachers walking around armed, carrying the guns on them, where they may possibly fall and allow a 5-year-old to pick it up and possibly misfire it. Is that that's your solution?
People are walking around with guns outside of schools all over our country, and we don't have those kinds of problems. You can always play the what-if game.
But Mr. Pratt, you have enormous problems in this country. You have over 300 million guns. You have 311 million people, many of which are children. You have more than a gun per adult in this country, and you have by far the worst rate of gun murder and gun crime of any of the civilized countries of this world. How can you possibly argue that the answer... I'm asking you this question. How can you argue that the logical... Please stop laughing.
Because you're saying, what is your argument, and then you won't let me make an argument.
I'm going to ask you the question, but if you could stop laughing...
You've already posited the question. Let me answer your question.
I haven't asked you the question.
Repeat it.
My question is this. If you could stop laughing for a moment. It is this. Why do you believe, given that you have 300 million guns in circulation and the worst gun crime rate of any of the civilized countries of the world, that more guns is the answer to less gun murder?
Because the problem occurs, sir, in those areas precisely where we have said no guns. The problem doesn't occur where the guns are allowed freely to be carried, to be used by people. There we have very low murder rates. We have lower murder rates in other parts of the country than even in Europe, than even where you come from. But what has created the problem in the United States is to say in cities, in schools, those are areas where we're not going to allow people to defend themselves.
What is the murder rate in Great Britain for the last 3 years? Do you know, from guns?
It's under 3 per 100,000, and in Fairfax County, where Gun Owners of America is located, it is actually 0.3 per 100,000, about a tenth of what it is in your vaunted English bucolic countryside. The fact of the matter is, with guns comes safety if the guns are in the hands of the good guys. And when you say the good guys can't have guns, the bad guys have a monopoly, and horrible things such as the shooting at the schools take place.
The AR-15, as we've now seen from the last 3 mass shootings in America, Aurora, the shopping mall in Oregon, and now at Sandy Hook School, is the preferred choice of weapon for disturbed young men who want to commit mass atrocity. It can fire hundreds of bullets at rapid speed if you have the right magazines. The President of the United States has indicated he wants to ban assault weapons like this. What is your view?
I think we need to ban gun control laws that keep people from being able to protect themselves. The problem is not going to go away if we ban this or that gun. We've tried that. That doesn't work. Doesn't even work in England. You've had mass murders there. All over Europe there have been mass murders. The solution is for people to be able to defend themselves at the point of the crime and not wait for 20 minutes for the police to come after everybody's dead.
Mr. Pratt, was an absolute lie. The gun murder rate in countries like Britain or Germany or Australia, who've all suffered massacres many years ago of similar nature, they are 35 people killed a year. Your country is 12,000.
Your murder rate is lower than ours. That is true.
Lower? It's 35 against 12,000.
Your violent crime rate, is higher than ours, as is the violent crime rate in Australia. America is not the Wild West that you are depicting. We only have the problem in our cities and unhappily in our schools, where people like you have been able to get laws put on the books that keep people from being able to defend themselves. I honestly don't understand why you would rather have people be victims of a crime than be able to defend themselves. It's incomprehensible.
You're an unbelievably stupid man, aren't you?
It seems to me that you're morally obtuse. You seem to prefer being a victim to being able to prevail over the criminal element. And I don't know why you want to be the criminal's friend.
What a ridiculous argument. You have absolutely no coherent argument whatsoever. You don't give a damn, do you, about the gun murder rate in America? You don't actually care. All you care about is the right for any American.
It seems to me that facts don't bother you, do they, Mr. Morgan?
You would like to see...
Facts don't seem to... They bounce right off of your head.
Let's deal with some facts.
You're speaking oblivious to what we do know, is that when you go to an area in the United States where guns are freely available, readily able to be carried legally, there you find our lowest murder rates, lower than the murder rates in Europe. You go to our cities where we have cracked down on guns and people can't defend themselves, and that's where the criminals have a field day.
How many guns did Mrs. Lanza have in her home?
I don't know how many she had, and that really is not the point.
Well,
the point is
let me
somebody
you.
with evil in his...
She had 6 guns, including 4 assault rifles. And what happened was her deranged son, who clearly was very disturbed.
Her evil son.
It doesn't matter what you call him.
We shouldn't be... Well, I think it matters, because if you believe and understand that there is evil in the world, then you don't try as your first line of defense to solve it psychiatrically. You protect yourself with a gun.
Let me finish my thread there, Mr. Pratt. So you have an evil young man who is living at home, clearly with serious troubles. And his mother has 6 firearms in that house, including the weapons that he used to murder 26 people, including 20 children aged 5. You are quite happy about that situation, are you? And you would be quite happy if there are many more people in his position in homes around America where there are that number of firearms which could be used by mentally unstable people.
Americans with firearms in their homes typically have them locked in a safe, as I do, and as most gun owners certainly do. The fact that this woman did not and knew that her son was unstable reflected poorly on her judgment, and unhappily she paid very dearly for her poor judgment. But that's not the reason that you should be able to come down on everybody else who's a law-abiding gun owner, who uses good sense, and to say, we've got to pay for that person's stupidity, for their shortcomings. That's just not going to wash. We're not going to let it happen, Mr. Morgan.
I'm sure you're not going to try and let it happen. You see, my argument is not about the Americans' right to defend themselves in their home with a firearm. That's not the argument that I'm trying to put out there. My argument is the same as the argument that Senator Feinstein said, that the president endorses, that I believe many, many Americans now believe following this tragedy, which is that there is absolutely no use and no justification for these AR-15 type assault weapons.
On the contrary,
let me finish.
How can you say such a thing?
Let me finish my sentence.
The Korean merchants in Los Angeles use these kinds of firearms to protect their lives and their businesses. And for you to say there's no useful purpose for these guns, that's just completely wrong.
Okay, let me finish my sentence. There are these assault weapons which have been used now in movie theaters, in shopping malls, in elementary schools to murder many, many Americans, and now 25-year-old children. And they are armed with magazines, 30 at a time here, 100 in Aurora in a movie theatre. And your only answer, Mr. Pratt, to people that want to get rid of both the magazines and these assault weapons, if I'm not mistaken, is to let everybody else have similar weapons. Is that the solution to America's gun murder problem?
I would challenge you to go and tell the Korean merchants who survived the riots in Los Angeles, sorry you had those firearms.
Can you answer my
saved
question?
your lives. I'm answering your question. I wish you could understand it, because you're talking against self-defense.
Would you like to see
people being able to protect
teachers armed
and
with...
you don't want to hear it. That's why you keep interrupting.
No, I don't mind hearing it. I think it's complete nonsense, but I don't mind hearing it. You would like to see...
Brits tend to do that, don't they?
I'll stop being so facetious. I just want you to answer this one question. Post what happened at Sandy Hook, your answer to this problem of repeated use of this weapon with these high-capacity magazines is to continue letting Americans buy them with impunity and to not concern yourself with these mass shootings. Is that right?
The Second Amendment means what it says, and meanwhile, you want to continue laws against self-defense, laws that prohibit self-defense, laws that prohibit teachers and other faculty, other members of the administration in schools from being able to defend themselves if they have a concealed carry permit. The laws prohibit them right now. We have been lobbying against those laws since they were put on. We will continue to do so, pointing out that that is where the problem is. And for you to support them means that you're really blind to the role that that plays in enabling murderers to operate with impunity.
Yeah, I know why sales of these weapons have been soaring in the last few days. It's down to idiots like you. Mr. Pratt, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for your high-level argument, Mr. Morgan.
You know what?
Really
you wouldn't
very good.
understand the meaning of the phrase high-level argument. You are a dangerous man espousing dangerous nonsense, and
disarmament is dangerous. Ask Neville Chamberlain, your role model.
Yeah, sure. I know all about role models, and you're not one of them. When we come back, two members of Congress who've experienced gun violence and what they want to do to make sure it never happens to anybody else. Anyone who's watched this show over the past few weeks knows I've taken a pretty strong stand on guns in America. It's not escaped the notice of supporters of gun rights, and it's led to a petition on the White House official website, no less. It's entitled, and I quote, "Deport British citizen Piers Morgan for attacking Second Amendment." Take a look. More than 104,000 people have signed it so far. And joining me now is one of the people behind the petition, Alex Jones. He's host of the Alex Jones Show. Welcome to you.
Piers, thanks for having me.
Why do you want to deport me?
Well, we did it as a way to bring attention to the fact that we have all of these foreigners and the Russian government, the official Chinese government. Mao said political power goes out of the barrel of a gun. He killed about 80 million people because he's the only guy that had the guns. So we did it to point out that this is globalism, and the mega banks that control the planet and brag that they've taken over, in Bloomberg, AP, Reuters, you name it, brag that they're going to get our guns as well. They've taken everybody's guns but the Swiss and the American people. And when they get our guns, they can have their world tyranny while the government buys 1.6 billion bullets, armored vehicles, tanks, helicopters, Predator drones, armed, now in U.S. skies, being used to arrest people in North Dakota. The Second Amendment isn't there for duck hunting. It's there to protect us from tyrannical government and street thugs. Take the women in India. Your piece earlier on CNN I was watching during Anderson Cooper's show didn't tell you that the women of India have signed giant petitions to get firearms because the police can't and won't protect them. The answer is, hey, wait a minute, I have FBI crime statistics that come out a year late, 2011. 20+% crime drop in the last 9 years. Real violent crime, because more guns means less crime. Britain took the guns 15, 16 years ago, tripling of your overall violent crime. True, we have a higher gun violence level, but overall mugging, stabbings, deaths, those men raped that woman in India to death with an iron rod 4 feet long. You can't ban the iron rods. The guns, the iron rods, Pierce, didn't do it. The tyrants did it. Hitler took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Mao took the guns. Fidel Castro took the guns. Hugo Chavez took the guns. And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. Doesn't matter how many lemmings you get out there on the street begging for them to have their guns taken. We will not relinquish them. Do you understand? And that's why you're going to fail, and the establishment knows no matter how much propaganda, the Republic will rise again when you attempt to take our guns. My family in the Texas Revolution against Santa Anna, my family was at the core on both sides starting that because Santa Anna came to take the guns at Gonzales, Texas. Pierce, don't try what your ancestors did before. Why don't you come to America? I'll take you out shooting. You can become an American and join the Republic.
You finished?
Yes, I am finished. You will not take my right. You go through background checks to get guns. How about Prozac? You know the number one, oh, that's the big sponsor, isn't it? Or that whole class of drugs.
Let me ask you a question.
Oh, got to cut that off, don't you? Don't want to talk about the U.S. number one cause of death is suicide now because they give people suicide murder pills.
Calm down.
Your answer is give more money to the psychiatrists and psychologists to put more crazy people on drugs that make them kill people, Piers.
Let's try and have a debate here.
Yeah.
Answer me this question.
I'm sick of the same old script here, bud.
It's fine, bud. How many gun murders were there in America last year? Do you know?
There were about 11,458, and about 74% of those were gang-related, gangbangers shooting each other. You get 3,500 to 4,000.
That wasn't the
How
question.
many people died from infections in hospitals? 197,000.
Let me just ask you a second.
That's right.
How many gun murders were there in Britain?
How many
year?
great white sharks?
No, how many
kill people every year, but they're scared to swim?
Right. How many gun murders were there in Britain?
A very low amount. I already went over those statistics.
Many? Do you know?
It was only a few hundred.
No. How many gun murders?
I actually did pull up the statistics. Here, let me pull them out right here. I figured you'd do that.
Gun murders in Britain last year.
UK violent crime, capital of Europe. London Telegraph. Here, let me give you more.
It's quite a simple question.
Well, that's the oldest.
You're a very loud man.
That's the oldest Perry Mason tactic to ask me some little factoid.
It's not a little factoid.
I already said earlier,
We're talking about
England has a lot lower gun crime rate because you took all the guns.
Let me try exactly my point.
But you've got hordes of people burning down cities and beating old women's brains out every day.
What a ridiculous
They arrest people in England if they defend themselves. That's on record. My God, you've got a total police state. Everybody's fleeing that country because you've had to flee here, bud. Why don't you tell folks? Yeah, you fled here. Why don't you go back and face the charges for the hacking scandal?
Answer this question. How many
Why'd you get fired from the Daily Mirror for putting out fake stories? You're a hatchet man of the New World Order. Okay. You're a hatchet man. And I want to say this right here. You think you're a tough guy? Have me back with a boxing ring in here, and I'll wear red, white, and blue, and you can wear your Jolly Roger.
Okay.
You know what?
Let's try again. How many gun murders were there?
Oh, you're going to ban your fist now?
In Britain last year.
How many chimpanzees can dance on the head of a pin? I already went over those statistics.
Do you know the answer?
No, I don't.
You said hundreds.
It's very low.
You said hundreds.
Yes.
It's actually 35.
Well, the point is you can...
Against 11,000. Do you understand the difference between 11,000
Yeah, England wants
35?
to ban knives now because tens of thousands are getting stabbed.
Right. But do you understand
ban
the
knives?
difference?
The knife doesn't kill people.
Do you understand?
The gun doesn't kill people.
Yes.
Listen,
do you understand
between 35 you're not going to pull on America's heartstrings. They know your script, okay? You're not going to get our guns. By the way, you guys always say, we just want to take the semi-autos, okay, and all this other stuff. When semi-autos aren't even, rifles aren't even used but in a fraction of the crimes, you can pull those numbers up, okay? No, hold on.
Let me ask you one question. Which weapon was predominantly used in the Aurora movie theatre shooting?
M4 AR-15 variants.
So it was a semi-automatic assault rifle.
Again.
Okay.
But statistically, it's very, very low.
Do you agree it was the single biggest shooting in the history of America in terms of people hit by a shooter? Do you know that?
No, I believe that there were others. There's been some other shootings with about over 30.
No. This was the single biggest mass shooting.
Well, listen, you're just going...
No,
there have been bombings of Wall Street.
Let me ask you a second question.
Are we going to... Listen, why can't the pilots have firearms? We trust them to fly the planes.
Alex, you've had a lot to say.
No, my point is the Second Amendment is sacrosanct, and you're not getting it.
Do you know which weapon was used in the Oregon shopping mall mass shooting recently?
I understand that people... who are mentally ill on all the serotonin reuptake inhibitors, who play these shoot-'em-up games, want to go out and do this. Because there's criminals, I don't lose my rights, Piers. Because there's criminals, I don't lose my rights.
Just answer the question.
Yeah.
Do you know what the weapon used was?
Listen, let me ask you a question.
No, answer.
I've got the FBI statistics that, listen, that these so-called semi-autos that you talk about.
Let's take a break. When we come back.
Again, you're not going to get our guns.
When we come back, try and answer my question.
Yeah, all you're going to do is sit there and play little factoid questions. Overall crime has gone up over 20%. More.
Back now with Alex Jones. A man who says I should be deported for my stand on guns. So, Alex, here's how this is going to work, and it's entirely down to you. I'm going to ask you some questions in the spirit of a proper debate, and you've had a lot to say so far on the show, and a lot of it aimed at me, which is fine. But I want you to try and answer the questions. It's a proper debate, okay? I'm not trying to trip you up.
No, it's not a debate. You're running the show. You bring in your victims up front.
Actually, no.
Look, you got your little note cards.
Okay.
I just gave you FBI statistics that violent crime and gun crime is down over 20%.
Alex, let me just ask you
And
this.
you want to go to little factoids.
No, they're not little
Anybody
factoids.
can pull those up. Listen.
Do you know what...
Do you have a bodyguard?
Alex.
Why do you have bodyguards?
I don't have a bodyguard.
Yeah, I've seen you on the news with them. Don't you want to protect your wife from hoodlums, or you want to call the police?
Let me ask you this question.
Why does Dianne Feinstein tell 60 Minutes that she plans to try to take Mr. and Mrs. America's guns? Have you seen that?
Over me.
You guys want to disarm all of America.
No, I don't.
Dianne Feinstein's bill does.
I don't.
Gun confiscation.
No, let me clarify for you. You don't seem to understand
First
what
you register, then you confiscate. It's always done the same.
Here's what the campaign on this
Well, here, give me your little cue cards and I'll answer your questions for you.
What was the weapon used at Sandy Hook?
I've already gone over that and already answered it for you.
We haven't talked about Sandy Hook.
No, again.
What was the weapon?
It's a 223 M4.
Right.
Again, but statistically, they're using very low percentage of shootings, period.
Are you seeing,
you guys,
seeing
people wouldn't go swimming because the movie Jaws, even though great white sharks kill 5 people a year.
Alex,
you're trying to scare people.
Let me say something.
There's no metal shark in the water.
The same type of weapon was used in the last 3 mass shootings.
And Hitler used semi-autos to kill people.
Why would you not?
And so did Mao.
Why would you?
Why is the government arming to the teeth against us?
Alex, I don't
What about Fast and Furious?
Alex,
why did our government ship guns into Mexico?
Alex.
To blame the Second Amendment?
Let's have a debate.
A false flag?
Alex.
To blame the Second Amendment?
I get accused.
Why'd they blow up Building 7 down the street here in New York?
I get accused when I get you guys on of talking over you, of being rude. I'm trying to be civil, right? You've got to try and answer some of the questions, right? Here's my issue for you. Why do people civilians need an AR-15 type assault rifle? Why
I already said statistically they're used in a very low amount of the crimes. That's an FBI fact.
They've been used in the last 3 mass shootings.
Yes.
I'll
tell you why. Because they advertise it in the media. Anybody knows that if somebody jumps off the Empire State Building, they put cops up there the next day because copycats come to do it again. The media hypes and hypes and hypes.
And that's not the question.
Don't just commit suicide.
Alex, why do people
commit suicide by killing a bunch of kids, and here's the gun to use because it's the one the U.S. Army uses.
Why do people need them?
They need them to protect us from the #1 killer in history. Government in the 20th century, university study out of Hawaii killed 292 million people. It's called democide. Google it, folks.
Do you believe everyone in America, should everyone in America, therefore, have an AR-15 if they want one?
Statistically, where there's more guns, there's lower crime. The highest crime is in Bloomberg,
But you have the most guns of any of the 23 richest countries in the world, and you have
Well, America was born on guns and whiskey.
Right. But
it's true we're a violent society.
Right. So you
but
accept that America has the most
knives
guns
kill
and the
3
most
times
gun
more.
murders.
Have you seen the FBI numbers? Knives, bats, rocks kill many times more.
Alex, let's talk about the guns.
It's not the rock. It's not the knife. When a mother chops her kids up with a cleaver because she's on serotonin.
Tell me why I'm wrong.
Why don't you want to get rid of the drugs? Because they're half your sponsors?
No, stick to the subject.
America's #1 cause of unnatural death now is suicide.
Alex,
not automobile accident, not cancer,
accuse me of attacking the Second Amendment of the Constitution.
I want to get people off pills that the insert says will make you commit suicide and kill people.
Alex, let's get about to the Second Amendment.
I want to blame the real culprit. Suicide pills. Mass murder pills.
Okay, let me ask you one question. Your belief, unless I'm wrong.
First time anybody's ever heard this, by the way.
Your belief, unless I'm wrong, is that under the Second Amendment, your real concern is that you will be overrun by a tyrannical regime, either from somewhere else or
highway
from your own
checkpoints. Look at Mexico. Total gun ban for the citizens. Highest crime rate in the world. 57,000 people dead the last 5 years. Total gun ban for the citizens.
But
Switzerland has the lowest crime rate in Europe. Your country has the highest.
Alex, we have 35 gun murders a year. You have 11,000.
You people get their brains. It's the higher crime rate.
Let me ask you.
Violent crime is higher.
On this specific.
It's brains. It's people.
I'm trying to get inside your brains.
Pierce,
it's
if
not
you punched me
right
easy. Now, it'd be not your fist, but your brain that did it.
Let me get inside your brain.
Okay.
Okay? I'm serious. You have a very, very big platform. You air, I think, on 63 networks.
No, that Wikipedia is like 10 years old. I'm on over 140 stations, XM.
Millions of Americans hear you.
Over 1.5 million
day.
visitors to Infowars.com
and
today.
I congratulate
where we have
you
the
on your
statistics
audience.
posted right now. Infowars.com.
Who do you believe was behind 9/11?
Oh, I absolutely know. I have the police on CNN saying, get back, they're going to blow up 7. I have BBC reporting.
Who do you believe is behind
I have the proof. I heard them on CBS Radio.
Who, Alex?
They announced they blew up the towers on CBS Radio.
Who do you believe?
New Yorkers all saw it and heard it.
Alex, who do you
They
believe?
blew up Building 7.
Alex, who do you believe was behind it? The American government?
Criminal elements of the military-industrial complex, the same ones that staged Gulf of Tonkin, the same ones that staged the mass shootings of Operation Gladio.
Right.
Ooh, the CIA don't like this
Alex,
now.
Do you mean that President Bush and his administration were behind 9/11?
I mean that even mainstream news reported that the hijackers were ordered to be allowed into the United States. Michael Springman, the head of the Visa Department, blew the whistle on that.
So the Bush administration was part of a conspiracy
he said never let us tolerate
to murder Americans.
I can speak in this accent as well.
Yeah.
The
But is that what you
government,
believe?
Hitler firebombed his own Reichstag, Piers, to bring in martial law in Germany, April 27th, 1933. Governments have staged terror attacks throughout history or allowed terrorists to attack as a pretext to invade and enslave the populations. I probably own more than 50 firearms. Many of them have increased in value 2, 3, or even 4 times. I sleep very comfortably outside Austin, Texas, knowing that I can defend my family.
Okay, Alex Jones, this is
Infowars.com.
This is the man who wants to deport me from the country for wanting to get rid of
it's to point out you're a foreigner, a red coat, here telling us what to do.
Whatever.
Go back to where they took the guns if you don't like it. The communist...